Hey, what's up Guardians? TBL here from PlanetDestiny, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at what I consider to be some of, if not the best, strike exclusive gear in the game. Now of course, all this stuff is gear that can only be obtained by completing certain strikes. The gear itself is all unique, it drops with random perks, and reforging isn't an option. So there is a bit of a random element added into getting the optimal roll, and you'll probably have to get multiple variants of a weapon before you get the best of the best. I'm going to be covering what I consider to be the best of the bunch with the optimal rolls. First up, we have the Imago Loop Legendary Hand Cannon. Now this thing is basically Fatebringer Jr. It's got the same rate of fire and base impact as the Fatebringer with a magazine size of 10, which, in today's hand cannon meta is actually pretty good. You can pick this bad boy up by defeating the boss on either the PlayStation exclusive Echo Chamber Strike or by taking on the Undying Mind. Alright, let's talk about rolls here. Now, I'm not going to mince words here. If you get lucky with the Outlaw Firefly roll, you've pretty much got the best variant of the Imago Loop that you can get. Mix that in with a range boosting perk like Rifled Barrel or a stability boosting perk like Small Bore or Braced Frame, and you've got yourself a pretty solid weapon. Getting something like Rangefinder in the first tree and either Luck in the chamber or Third Eye in the third tree is also acceptable. Moving on. Number 2 on our list is the Darkblade Spite Legendary Fusion Rifle. Alright, now I know what you're thinking. Fusion rifles suck, and they've been nerfed way past usability, but this thing actually isn't so bad. The Spite drops from the Darkblade himself in the Sunless Cell Strike. Stat-wise, it's sort of like the Praetorian Foil from back in the Vault of Glass. It comes with near max impact, and if you can get a good stability roll on it, it absolutely wrecks. It's great especially in PvE for staggering enemies. If you can get yourself a roll with something like Hipfire, either accelerated coils or braced frame, and then hot swap or rangefinder at the end, you've actually got yourself a pretty solid weapon. Personally for me, I would hope for braced frame over accelerated coils in the middle tree. It's always nice to have a faster charge rate on fusions, but this can kick like a horse, so that extra stability will really come in handy. If you can get yourself a good roll on the Spite, you'll have one of the few remaining decent fusion rifles. Next up, we have the legendary auto rifle, Does Not Bow. It can be picked up from the Shadow Thief Strike where you take on Tanyx the Scarred. It's rocking a base rate of fire of 77 and a base impact of 28, which puts it into a similar tier with the Year 1 Shadow Price and the Summoner. Now, one of the big things about this gun is that it has very manageable recoil, and if you can get just a little bit of extra stability on it, you're essentially set. For your first tier perk, I would definitely recommend a damage booster like Crowd Control or something like Rangefinder to get a little bit more range out of this gun, while in the third tree, Glass Half Full will serve you well. For the middle tree, Injection Mold, Hand-Laid Stock, or Small Bore are all great choices. The last weapon we're going to be talking about today is the Grasp of Malak. This pulse rifle can be obtained from the Will of Crota Strike where you take on Omnigul and is a fast-firing monster. But oddly enough, despite that, it's got pretty decent base stability. Now, the closest thing to compare this to would probably be either the Oversoul Edict or Praedyth's Timepiece from the Vault of Glass. And despite the fact that fusion rifles did get a bit of a nerf, this thing still hits hard. Perk-wise, you're going to look for a setup that further increases this gun's stability. I would recommend Counterbalance in the first tree and Hand-Laid Stock in the second tree. Counterbalance will help to eliminate that horizontal recoil, while Hand-Laid Stock will help you manage and control the vertical recoil with a small cost to range. Then, in the third perk tree, you've got really a plethora of choices here. Third Eye, Feeding Frenzy, Spray and Play, or Glass Half Full are all great choices. Meaning, of course, you have lots of ways to mix and match good rolls on this gun. If you can get the stability buffs you need, it really does turn the Grasp of Malak into pretty much a laser gun. So, I wish you luck on your rolls. Alright, now before we wrap this video up, I wanted to really quickly talk about what I think are the 3 coolest strike exclusive pieces of armor that you can get. Now, armor is of course a bit harder to classify in terms of which is the best, since everyone's going to be looking for specific perks and stat setups to match their own personal builds. So we're only going to be talking about what I think are the coolest looking strike exclusive pieces of armor. And first up, it has to be the Darkblade Helm. Now you can get this bad boy from the Sunless Cell Strike by taking on Alakul the Darkblade, and it's basically the helmet he wears during that strike. Next up, we've got the Theosian Vibra Se. This is right now a PlayStation exclusive piece of Warlock gauntlets that you can only get from the PlayStation exclusive strike, the Echo Chamber. Stylistically speaking, it looks like you literally ripped some of the plate mail straight off of the Restorative Mind. And personally, I think that's awesome. For me, this is one of the first pieces of armor that I infused up to 310. Moving on to the final piece of armor, it's got to be the Scion Flare Mantles. Now, many of you guys who ran the Nightfall last week probably picked up at least one of these. The Solar Arc and Void Mantles can be obtained from the Scion Flares in the Dust Palace Strike, although they'll only drop from the last Scion Flare that you kill, and the mantle you receive will be the one that Scion Flare was wearing. So, make sure you plan accordingly the next time you're in the Dust Palace Strike. Those are some of, if not the best Strike exclusive pieces of gear in the game. Now, of course, it's important to note that we didn't name all of the Strike exclusive gear. There's other great weapons like the Treads Upon Stars and the Baron's Ambition out there too. The stuff in this video is just what I personally consider to be the top of the bunch. What are your opinions? Got a favorite Strike exclusive piece of weapon or armor with a great roll? Let us know in the comment section below. And be sure to stay tuned for more up-to-date content on the future of Destiny. That's it for this one, guys. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.